have this kite that I'm supposed to fly, but it's also a bit tricky, and I think the kite is somewhat a metaphor for, I don't know what it's a metaphor for, but this thing of like, you could potentially fly the kite outdoors, right? But you're not supposed to be outdoors, even though you can, but you can't, but 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 you can, but you can't, maybe you shouldn't, but you can, but you shouldn't, but you can, but you can, but you can, but you can. So anyways, this is kite that I'm supposed to fly, and I've tried flying it indoors, which is fine, but it never works. It just dips its nose downwards and then just crashes. It just doesn't work, because there's also like not enough hot air, not enough directional wind. I don't know what else you're supposed to. I don't know these things about kites, but yeah, and there's no room, there's no space, but the kite, there's enough room for it to kind of like do its thing, but it's just not optimum conditions for this thing to fly. It's flying within a very narrow what is I gonna say? It's flying within a very narrow scope indoors, but that's where it should be flying. But it can go outside. But it should, but it shouldn't, but it should, but it shouldn't, but it should, but it shouldn't, but it can, but it shouldn't, but potentially, hypothetically, and possibly it should stay indoors. So, yeah, anyways, with this kite, it's been hard, trying to get it at the levels that kiting is supposed to be. Like, and also, how do you fly a kite? And I think maybe it's just a poor choice of activity for a time like this, but there's something about the lightness and the playfulness. And what does it mean to play in a time like this, when it's encouraged to be like very enthusiastic and playful, but it's also like, no, that's a lie, dude. So it's also like, can you play? You can, but you can't, but you can, but you can't, but you shouldn't, but you should, but you can, but you can't because of space, but you can because you should, but you can't because of limitations, but you can because you should, but you can't because of socio-geographic and socio-economic limitations and health limitations, but you can, but you can't because there's not enough hot air, but you can, but you can't because there's not enough directional wind, but you can, but you can't because you don't know how to fly a kite, but you can be playful, but you can't fly the fucking kite. Parental advisory, explicit content. I apologize sincerely for using a curse word, even though I do that every day. So at the moment the kite is just chilling, and the kite actually has a twin, so there's technically two kites. And it's like, now what do you do with these kites? Do you maybe dangle them outside of the window, which you could potentially do, but I don't know if that means they'll fly. So you can do it, but it might not work. So it can, but it won't, but it will, but it won't, but you can, but it won't, and maybe you will, and then it won't, and then you can try, but there's a chance that it might potentially, hypothetically, will not work. So yeah, you can, but you can't. I don't know what to do with these kites. I must go to sleep now. Enough about the damn kites. Oh, you know what I could potentially do? Maybe I can send the kites home. Also, this is another one where it's like, you can but you can't, but I don't know how that logically works. Like, if you could, but it would be cool if you could fly the kite like all the way home, like just in one push. But I don't know. You can but you can't, but you can but you can't.